Executive Brief. Executive Brief.
My good people of Abia State, it is my honor and pleasure to address
From the seat of governance in Abia, God's own state, comes a compendium of the governor's weekly engagement in the service to humanity and God.
This government is in its second and final tenure, and therefore we are in a hurry to gain traction and achieve what our mandate the people have given to us and defined for us as assignment.
Join the Chief Press Secretary to Abia State Governor Onyebuchi Imemanka on Flow 94.9 FM as he tracks Governor Ikpeazu's activities in delivering on the social contract with the good people of Abia State.
We have received awards and acknowledgement as the SME capital of Nigeria in recent times.
Executive Brief.
Every Friday at 9:30 a.m.
on Flow 94.9 FM, the flow of God's own state. Executive Brief from the horse's mouth.
There is now a deliberate effort to ensure that our infrastructure is solid and durable.
Glad to know that you tuned in to Flow 94.9 FM right here, reaching you from the city of Umuahia, the capital of Abia State. Well, the program is Executive Brief, and of course, the business of governance is demanding and very, very strong in the need of precision in the decision making. Managing people actually require prudence as well as the scarce or meager resources available, and the governor, who is the chief executive officer of the state, is saddled with that responsibility, overseeing the affairs of the state. This program serves you all the engagements of Governor Okezie Victor Ikpeazu, and because of the week, courtesy of the office of the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor. I am Temple Barra, and I do have in the studio this morning the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Abia State, Barrister Onyebuchi Imemanka. A very good morning to you, sir.
Thank you, Temple Barra. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
All right, let's put our pedal on the throttle and go full swing into the weekly activities. We'll start off with the COVID-19 testing center that's been set up in Amachara. And, this has come amidst a lot of celebrations because of the growing number of confirmed cases. And, of course, we've been told by the Interministerial Committee that the Abia State Rapid Response Team have been able to manage and discharge 93 persons after there was a bit of a squabble as to the number of fatalities recorded. Well, it's been cleared up by the Commissioner for Information, Abia State, Honorable John Okikalu, that those cases were never under the care of those persons responsible for patients confirmed to have COVID-19 in Abia State. So to the center, which has commenced full operations and gotten approval after what has been called an evaluation by the NCDC. All right, so confirmation that Abia State can now test within its jurisdiction, within the state.
Absolutely. It's good morning, Abians. Good morning to all of you. Thank you, TC Barra. That's position you stated now is a reaffirmation that Governor Okezie Ikpeazu is a governor who means what exactly he said, or what he says. At the commencement of this COVID-19 challenge in the states, initially we didn't even have any test center in the entire Southeast until the first one was established, I think, by the NCDC in neighboring states. And I am aware that the governor was then very, very worried about the feedback speed when samples are taken from here and taken to Ebonyi State. Before the results are processed, the tests are concluded and the results are brought back here, it would have taken time.
Okay.
And you know, because life is involved, time is of the essence here. In fact, there was a man who died a few days ago. The test results showed that he didn't die of COVID. But when they took him to a particular hospital here in the state, they ran COVID test on him. But because the hospital where he was admitted did not have the facilities, it's a private hospital, didn't have the facilities to treat him, They wanted to move him to another hospital, but the hospital said they wouldn't release the man until his COVID test result came out, and it took the usual long time. And by the time the result came out, the man was gone. So issues like this gave Governor Ikpeazu sleepless nights. At a point, an ambulance conveying samples from Abia State was detained somewhere at Ebonyi State on their way to the test center.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Didn't they have the clearance?
They had every clearance. You know how funny this country can be. Some security agencies, some security officials detained them for hours.
How was that resolved?
Well, they started making calls here and there, but valuable time was lost.
Okay.
The point is this: the fact that we didn't have a test center that could test for COVID-19 in the states, was a source of headache to Governor Ikpeazu. And nobody will blame anybody for this, because nobody knew that COVID-19 was coming. In fact, in the entire southeast, Abia is the third to have it. Ebonyi was first, Imo followed, and then Abia now. So there are still some states in the southeast that don't even have it at all. So this is a major step, a bold step by the Ikpeazu administration. When this challenge started, he took steps and ordered for a complete set of equipment to set up a molecular lab in Abia State for the testing of COVID. This is a specialized test.
Exactly.
We've not seen this disease before anywhere in the world, so nobody had it. So, but these test kits were paid for in hard currency abroad. You and I know what it takes now to move things from one place to the other. Talk less of international movements. No flights. You have to get clearance upon clearance before you could move things. But I am aware of the time that payment was made. I am aware that Governor Ikpeazu, together with his Commissioner for Health, kept working on the phones, tracking that equipment as it kept moving from the country of supply.
Can I just take it away from you just briefly here? What would you say is the capacity of this testing center? Are we expecting some more? We have one confirmed in Amateur, which is fully in operations at the moment. But with the rising number,
the plan is to have 3.
Okay.
2 in Umuahia and I think 1 in Aba. All the equipment are here. They've all arrived. It takes a few days to put them in place, and of course the NCDC will have to come and certify these things. The good news is that we have the state can now, the days of taking our samples outside for testing are over.
All right,
is a major step, and is a modern test equipment that the governor got for us from the testimony of what the guys at the isolation center, the guys who run these test centers, what they said: you could do a test today and get the result the same day. So everybody in Abia State now has the opportunity to go get tested.
Okay.
And nobody should be afraid of anything. People have undergone these tests.
The fear here now, it's not undergoing the test, but with the number of COVID-19 patients rising, do we have the capacity? Does the state have the capacity to cater for people who would require isolation and treatment?
Absolutely. The test center at Amacha, the isolation center at Amacha, is a 100-bed facility.
Okay, but we have over 200. 93 has been
100-bed facility. That is at Amacha alone. Okay. That is the if you go to Amacha, where the 100-bed facility is located, there is also a smaller facility directly opposite it that has about 20 beds. There's a small one at FMC Umuahia. We have an isolation center in Aba. So, and of course, just like I was reading some what I consider a very brilliant write-up done by the Commissioner for Information a few days ago, where he was trying to explain the concept of isolation. Now, there are people who, by virtue of their exposure, by virtue of their status, if I could use that word, who understand the need for isolation, for self-isolation. Self-isolation is also a form of isolation. Now, if the health authorities are convinced that by reason of your level of exposure, by reason of your status, by reason of there's somebody you see and you find out if that person can self-isolate. A lot of people have gone into self-isolation quietly and stuck to the treatment regimen.
Okay.
Followed it religiously and came out unscattered, tested negative. So it's not everybody. It's not everybody that will go into the isolation center. There are people who are capable of self-isolating. The whole idea, whether you are in the isolation center or you are self-isolated, the whole idea is to take yourself away from the public. Just go in and sort yourself out.
Well, we had a program last week titled Abia Speaks, and on that program, someone called in. He asked a very pertinent question: is the governor still under isolation? People would want to know, what is the state of his health at this time?
Yeah.
While we hear he's recuperating, he's recovering, but no word, emphatic statement has been made as to the level of recuperation that he has attained over the past few weeks. And if there's a timeline, as to if he's going to return to the state. Last week, when we had a conversation over the phone, you said he would want to, completely get well before, embarking upon the rigors of the office again.
Absolutely. First of all, the first question you raised was whether the governor was in isolation. The answer is yes.
Okay.
The governor is on self-isolation, and I want to assure the people of Abia State, and I speak authoritatively, that the governor of Abia State, Ikpeazu, PhD, is doing very well. The governor is stable, and I say this with a deep sense of responsibility and sense of duty, that our governor is stable. And you see, the job of the office of governor is a very hectic one, extremely very hectic. What people see out there is just a reflection of about 45% or 40% at most of what the governor does. Majority of the job of the governor is done outside the prying eyes of the press. It's a very, very important, it's a very, very rigorous assignment. And it's not a job for somebody who is not completely strong. The governor has gone beyond the point where people will lose sleep. But because of the demands of the office, the doctors who are attending to him in isolation are of the opinion that he needs to have some extra days of rest and proper recuperation.
When you say extra days, are we looking at 7 days or a fortnight here?
The doctors will be in a better position to say, but I want to assure the people of Abia State that very soon, I do not want to give specific dates, but very soon, sooner than they expect, Governor Ikpeazu will be back.
Here we go. Sooner than you expect, the executive governor and the chief manager of the resources and of course people of Abia State will be back in office to continue. Meanwhile, in his absence, activities have still continued. The wheels of government have continued to swing. Well, I wouldn't say move in secular motion, not stopping, not pausing, because he handed over to the deputy governor to ensure that things continue smoothly. We'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll be looking at the swearing in of new judges in the state, and of course, how the deputy governor has been able to fill in what seems like a void because of the absence of the executive governor. Stay right here on the dial at 94.9 FM I am Temple Bar, and I still have the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Abia State, Barrister Onyebuchi Ememanka, in the studio. We'll be right back. And when we do, I'll tell you something about him.
Executive Brief. Executive Brief.
My good people of Abia State, it is my honor and pleasure to address
From the seat of governance in Abia, God's own state, comes a compendium of the governor's weekly engagement in the service to humanity and God.
This government is in its second and final tenure, and therefore we are in a hurry to gain traction and achieve what our mandate people have given to us and defined for us as assignment.
Join the Chief Press Secretary to Abia State Governor Onyebuchi Ememanka on Flow 94.9 FM as he tracks Governor Ikpeazu's activities in delivering on the social contract with the good people of Abia State.
We have received awards and acknowledgement as the SME capital of Nigeria in recent times.
Executive Brief.
Every Friday at 9:30 a.m.
on Flow 94.9 FM, the flow of God's own state. Executive Brief from the horse's mouth.
There is now a deliberate effort to ensure that our infrastructure is solid and durable.
It's 10 minutes before 10 o'clock, 10 minutes to 10, according to our studio time. I am Temple Bara, and this is the Executive Brief. Courtesy the Office of the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Abia State. And of course, I do have him in person in the studio, Barrister Onyebuchi Ememanka. Well, he was the best graduating student in 2001 and took time out to celebrate that on social media in the course of the week. And of course, this week as well, he marked 1 year in office as the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Abia State. Glad to have you in the studio again. Congratulations on all fronts.
TC Bara, let me correct one.
Okay.
I didn't. I marked my 1 year anniversary as Chief Press Secretary on the 6th of June, you know, but for me there was no need. There was no need for any celebration.
Okay.
It was a sober thing for me because why would I be celebrating 1 year anniversary of my appointment when the man who appointed me, my boss and my political benefactor, the leader of Abia State, Ikpeazu PhD, was not around. He's there in isolation, trying to get busy, to recover. And I'm here trying to mark a year in office. I felt it was not necessary at all. And it was a quiet, I observed it quietly, and in prayers to God. And I'm happy that God, in His infinite mercy, answered the prayer, not just my prayer, but the prayer of majority of Abians, and there has been much progress in the health status of our boss.
All right.
Yes.
Good to know. So before we took that break, we talked about the swearing in of new judges and who was the man behind the activity as the Deputy Governor of Abia State, who duly represented the governor to ensure that no lacuna is found in government. 3 new judges were sworn in. But before that, contracts were drawn up and allocated. And as such, it seems like nothing is missing whatsoever. No bridge, no space, no lacuna.
Nothing is missing. You see, even before now, Abians would have noticed that unlike what happened in the States since the beginning of our democratic experience in this Fourth Republic, Governor Ikpeazu and his deputy are not just partners in progress, partners in the administration of Abia State, but they are personal friends. And the governor describes the deputy governor as, quote, my brother. So that's close personal relationship has rubbed off on everything they have done since they were elected into office in 2015. So, I mean, if you have followed the activities so far, you wouldn't even notice that the governor hasn't been around. The deputy has proudly and very elegantly, held the fort. And I want to assure you that the deputy governor and the governor speak almost on a daily basis. They talk all the time, and nothing is missing at all. Nothing is missing. Nothing, absolutely nothing is missing.
Okay. So looking at some of the contracts that were agreed by the State Executive Council, I'll come from an angle, which is an open letter written to you by Marcus Oka Mong, who says talking with you would be like an access to the governor. And he complained about Akano Hafia to Abia Hafia route, which has been impassable for a while. And he also says the situation is now horrible and a state of shame, where the state derives revenue from oil markets and federal allocation. Now, what were the basis of allocating some of these contracts? And is this some of the contracts we may have in the year 2020, considering the fact that allocation is also a big deal this time around?
I saw that open letter, and is a straightforward issue. If you look at that list, the list of those contracts, not every local government was represented. It is practically impossible to build all the roads in the state in one fell swoop. It's not possible. Even if you had all the money, it will be practically impossible to embark on construction of all or reconstruction of all roads at the same time. If you do that, movement becomes difficult. So my friend Marcus Mong, my message is this: these things will happen, but they will happen gradually, they will happen systematically. Governor Ikpeazu is committed to extending his caterpillar revolution to all parts of the state, but they cannot happen at the same time. Cash flow will make it impossible for it to happen at the same time. But be assured that Ohafia local government is represented in that list. If you look at the road that goes to Mporo, Mporo is on Ohafia local government, and more roads will come up in Ohafia local government. Ohafia is a very strategic local government, just like every state, every part of the state is important and strategic, But you know very well that even in your own house, you cannot undertake every expenditure at the same time. So they will happen, but not at the same time. That's my response.
All right. Finally, just before we wrap things up, as we unwind on the program this morning, relief materials have continued to go out to displaced persons and, of course, people who are in need. But it seems like in the news there's been a continuation of border issues, state borders between some communities in Abia State and Akwa Ibom State. I don't know if you have any words to react to some of these issues, especially as the Chief Press Secretary, owing to the fact that just last week a relief material had to be provided for certain persons who the Deputy Governor had represented, which is as a result of boundary crisis. Let me get that. That's Osaka Ukwu in Ikwano local government, and of course Nkali Nkalu in Akwa Ibom State. Yeah,
we've had a long history of border skirmishes between communities in Abia and communities in Akwa Ibom and Cross River State. But it is important for me to state here that even while the governor was fully in office, issues affecting boundary relations fall squarely within the office of the Deputy Governor. And over the years, ever since 2015, the Deputy Governor of Abia State has excellently managed that flank very, very well. He has, done that job very beautifully and reports back to the governor. And I can assure you that the governor is very, very impressed with the sagacity and passion showed by the Deputy Governor in handling border issues, border management clashes and issues. And the Deputy Governor has done a good job there and has continued to manage that flank very, very well. That is why whenever there are issues, he steps in, and then after a while, that area becomes very, very calm. Okay. So we are on course.
Well, this is where we'll terminate the course for today. It's been a very interesting ride, of course, with the Chief Press Secretary to Abia State Governor Barrister Onyebuchi Ememanka on the passenger seat with me this morning. Well, at this point in time, we'd like to say thank you very much for listening, and would ask you to join us next week Friday exactly 9:30 a.m. for another episode. Interesting as we look at the activities of the governor, and hopefully the governor may just be back to the state sooner than Temple Barra signing out now. Thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you very much, Temple Barra. Thank you, Flow FM. Thank you, Abia.
Have a great weekend and keep listening to 94.9 FM. Up next.
Executive Brief. Executive Brief.
My good people of Abia State, it is my honor and pleasure to address
From the seat of governance in Abia, God's own state, comes a compendium of the governor's weekly engagement in the service to humanity and God.
This government is in its second and final tenure, and therefore we are in a hurry to gain traction and achieve what our mandate people have given to us and defined for us as assignment.
Join the Chief Press Secretary to Abia State Governor Onyebuchi Imemanka on Flow 94.9 FM as he tracks Governor Ikpeazu's activities in delivering on the social contract with the good people of Abia State.
We have received awards and acknowledgement as the SME capital of Nigeria in recent times.
Executive Brief.
Every Friday at 9:30 a.m.
on Flow 94.9 FM, the flow of God's own state. Executive Brief from the horse's mouth.
There is now a deliberate effort to ensure that our infrastructure is solid and durable.